There are moments, chosen one, when the world around you grows so silent that even the sound of your own breathing becomes holy. In those moments, when your heart has been crying out for an answer, when your soul trembles under the weight of what you cannot understand, there comes a peace so still, so sudden, that it almost startles you. It is not the quiet that comes from things being right, it is the quiet that comes from God moving. That sudden calm, that deep stillness that falls over your spirit when you should be breaking apart. That is not coincidence, that is not your strength, that is not luck. That is God, rising up in the unseen realms, fighting battles you cannot see, shifting storms that were never meant to touch you, silencing voices that were never meant to reach you. It is heaven itself descending upon your chaos, whispering into your storm, "Be still." You see, there are times when the noise of the world will convince you that all hope is lost. When everything looks as if it is collapsing, when your prayers seem to echo in empty space, and when the people you thought would stand by your side begin to disappear one by one. You will be tempted to think that you have been abandoned. You will question whether God has heard you, whether He remembers the promises spoken into your life. But chosen one, understand this truth: God's silence is never His absence, His peace is never passive. When you feel that unexplainable serenity after your tears have soaked the pillow and your strength has dissolved into weakness, that is not the end of your story. That is God standing before your enemies, raising His hand saying, "Enough." That is the Creator reminding creation that you are not to be touched without His permission. That is the Almighty declaring war on every force that dared to trouble your soul. Sometimes God does His greatest work in the stillness. He fights for you in ways you may never understand, because He knows if you saw the size of the battle being waged on your behalf, you would fall to your knees in awe. You may never see the angels that surround you, but you feel them when your heart suddenly unclenches. When the weight that sat on your chest begins to lift. When the tears that once burned your eyes begin to dry and you cannot explain why. That is the fingerprint of God on your life. He does not always roar, sometimes He whispers. He does not always shake the earth, sometimes He touches it gently and reminds it who made it. That peace you feel is proof that your prayers did not vanish into the void. They reached heaven, and heaven responded not with noise but with action. Do you remember the nights you thought would destroy you? The moments you begged for just one sign that things would be okay? And somehow, against all logic, you made it through. That was not chance. That was the hand of God moving like a river beneath the soil of your pain, nourishing the roots of your faith when you could not see it. That peace that arrives in the middle of your chaos is not you giving up. It is God taking over. It is heaven saying, "You have done enough. Now, let me do what only I can do." And oh, chosen one, when God fights for you, everything changes. The same storm that once threatened to drown you becomes the rain that grows your garden. The same valley that once frightened you becomes the place where your faith learns to stand taller than fear. The same silence that once scared you becomes the evidence of His power at work. There is something sacred about surrender. When you stop fighting battles that were never meant to be yours, when you stop trying to convince others of your worth, when you stop wrestling with closed doors and unanswered calls, you make room for divine intervention. God cannot fill hands that are already clenching the things meant to be released. So He waits for you to exhale. He waits for you to lay down the sword you were never meant to carry. And when you finally surrender, when you finally say, "God, I cannot do this anymore," that is when heaven begins to move. The sudden peace you feel in that surrender is not defeat, it is deliverance. It is God stepping into the ring, saying, "Rest now, I will fight for you." You may not always recognize the battles He fights because they do not always take place in front of you. Some battles happen in the spiritual realm where your name is being spoken in rooms of light and darkness alike. Some wars are fought in the quiet corners of destiny, where angels push back the forces that would have stolen your joy, your mind, your future. You may not hear the clash of swords or the sound of thunder, but you will feel the outcome in the way your soul begins to breathe again. That is what divine warfare feels like: peace. A peace that cannot be explained by circumstance, a peace that cannot be stolen by fear, a peace that stands as a living testimony that God is present even when unseen. Chosen one, you have been through storms that should have taken you out. You have walked through fires that should have consumed you. You have faced rejection, betrayal, heartbreak, and disappointment that could have shattered anyone else, but here you are, breathing, standing, becoming. Do not mistake survival for weakness. You did not make it here because you are unbreakable. You made it because you are protected. You made it because every time you fell, God stood behind you. Every time you lost, He redeemed every time you were wronged. He wrote justice in places you could not reach. And when you finally stopped running, when you finally sat in silence and felt that unexplainable calm, that was God whispering, "You are safe now." There is a kind of peace that cannot be manufactured by comfort or wealth. It is the peace that arrives when heaven itself declares you off limits to destruction. It is the calm that comes when God Himself stands guard over your destiny. And that is the peace you feel when you least expect it. You may still be in the middle of the storm. The bills may not be paid. The relationships may not be mended. The diagnosis may not be reversed. But your heart knows something your eyes do not. God has entered the situation. And when He enters, everything begins to shift. Even if you cannot see it yet, that sudden peace is not denial. It is divine confirmation that the victory is already being written. Sometimes, the enemy will attack you the hardest right before your peace arrives, because he knows what comes after peace. Power. He knows that once you step into that unshakable rest, he cannot touch you anymore. That is why you will face warfare in your mind, confusion in your relationships, and pressure in your spirit. He wants you to panic, to doubt, to believe that God has left you. But the devil cannot dwell where peace reigns. So God gives you a supernatural calm that defies the storm. It is His way of shutting the mouth of fear. It is His way of saying, "You belong to me, not to chaos." Every chosen one must learn this lesson. Peace is not the absence of trouble. Peace is the presence of God. You can be surrounded by noise and still be at rest because your soul has anchored itself in something eternal. The world cannot give it, and the world cannot take it away. That peace you feel is not fragile, it is fierce. It is not quiet because it is weak. It is quiet because it is confident. It does not need to announce itself because it knows who sent it. That peace is heaven's signature, the seal of divine protection over your life. Remember this: the same God who calmed the seas with His voice can calm your mind with His presence. The same power that parted the Red Sea can part the waters of anxiety that threaten to drown you. The same God who raised the dead can raise your hope, your courage, your strength. So when that sudden peace finds you, do not question it. Do not dismiss it. Do not tell yourself you are imagining it. Receive it as the evidence that God has already begun the work. Peace is not the absence of battle. It is the proof that the battle is being handled. And maybe, just maybe, the reason you have been feeling so weary is because you have been fighting battles that were never yours to fight. You have been trying to fix people God never asked you to fix, trying to open doors He meant to keep closed, trying to carry burdens He already placed upon His shoulders. No wonder you are tired. No wonder you are drained. God did not create you to live in exhaustion. He created you to live in alignment. And alignment begins with peace. When you allow His peace to wash over you, you allow His power to work through you. The world calls it letting go. Heaven calls it trusting. Chosen one, you have spent too much time doubting the whispers of peace that come after pain. You have convinced yourself that it's only the calm before another storm. But what if it's not? What if this is the calm that comes after God has already fought for you? What if this is the season where you finally get to breathe without fear of what comes next? Do not sabotage the blessing by expecting the burden. God has not brought you this far to tease you with temporary comfort. When He gives you peace, it is because He has already secured your protection. There is a stillness that only comes when heaven declares victory. You may feel it late at night, when everyone else has gone to sleep, and your thoughts begin to settle like dust in sunlight. You may feel it in the morning when you open your eyes and realize that the ache in your heart has softened. You may feel it when you walk through the same places that once triggered pain, but this time your soul does not tremble. That is not healing by human strength. That is divine restoration. That is the Lord rewriting your response to what once broke you. That is God saying, "The war is over. You won." It takes courage to rest when you have been in survival mode for so long. It takes faith to believe that you do not always have to fight. But the truth is, rest is not laziness. Rest is warfare too. It tells the enemy that he no longer has control over your pace, your peace, or your purpose. Every time you rest in God's presence, you declare that He is greater than what you face. Every time you choose calm over chaos, faith over fear, patience over panic, you align yourself with heaven's rhythm. You stop fighting for your life and you start living it. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty for finding peace in places where others expect panic. They do not know the battles you have fought, nor the prayers that built your calm. They do not understand that your silence is not emptiness, it is reverence. That your peace is not withdrawal, it is worship. Every time you refuse to respond in anger, every time you smile when you could have cursed, every time you walk away when you could have stayed to prove a point, you are walking in the power of divine peace. You are showing the world what it means to be fought for by God, and make no mistake, when God fights for you, he fights completely. He does not negotiate with your enemies, he dismantles them. He does not plead with your pain, he transforms it. He does not patch up your wounds, he heals them until not even the scar can steal your joy. The peace you feel after the battle is not fragile, it is fortified. It is the kind of peace that comes from knowing you are held, protected, loved beyond reason. It is the kind of peace that makes you walk differently, talk differently, and see differently. You stop chasing validation, you stop fearing rejection, and you stop doubting your destiny because you have tasted what it feels like to be covered by God. So when that sudden peace falls upon you, lift your head. Do not rush out of it. Do not second guess it. Let it soak into your bones. Let it rewrite the rhythm of your heart. Let it remind you that God is closer than your breath. You are not alone in this story, and you never have been. That peace is his signature, his assurance, his whisper saying, I have already gone before you. I have already made the crooked path straight. I have already turned your mourning into morning. That peace is the language of victory spoken in silence. The truth is, chosen one, you are entering a season where peace will be your greatest weapon. People will not understand how you can be so calm while walking through chaos, but that is the mark of divine favor. You will walk through storms and remain dry. You will stand in fire and not be burned. You will be surrounded by noise yet remain unmoved, because the peace that God gives you does not depend on what is happening around you. It depends on who is living within you. That peace is God himself dwelling in your spirit, anchoring you when everything else tries to pull you apart. So breathe, rest, trust. The sudden peace you feel is not a pause, it is a promise. It is the sound of God finishing what he started. It is heaven's lullaby reminding you that every battle has already been accounted for. Every tear has already been redeemed. Every enemy has already been addressed. You do not have to chase what God has already conquered. You only have to walk in the calm he has provided. That peace is not the end of the fight, it is the beginning of your freedom. And when you find yourself tempted to worry again, when your mind starts running toward old fears, close your eyes and remember this moment. Remember the stillness that wrapped around you when you least expected it. Remember how your spirit exhaled when your world still looked the same. That was not random. That was not fleeting. That was God's presence reminding you that he is fighting for you even now. The same peace that met you once will meet you again, because his love does not run out and his protection does not expire. Chosen one, you are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not fighting alone. The peace you feel is the evidence that the battle belongs to the Lord. Let that peace lead you. Let it steady your steps, quiet your doubts, and fill your soul until you overflow with faith. Because when you walk in peace, you walk in power. When you live in peace, you live in victory. And when you carry peace, you carry God himself. So hold your head high even if your hands still tremble. Breathe deeply even if your heart still aches. Smile even if your eyes still sting from tears. The war is not yours, it never was. That sudden peace you feel, it is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your redemption. God is fighting for you, and heaven has already declared, you will win. Now rest, chosen one. Rest in the peace that passes all understanding. For that peace is not just a feeling, it is the sound of God's victory in your soul. And when you wake up tomorrow and the world looks the same but feels different, know that it is not the world that has shifted, it is you. Something in you has changed. Something in you has settled. Something in you has surrendered to a greater rhythm, a divine current that flows not by sight but by faith. That peace you feel is not fragile, it is the armor of God wrapping around your heart. It is the invisible shield that keeps your spirit from being crushed beneath the weight of what you face. You might not see the angels that surround you, but they see you. They move when your heart whispers prayers too faint for words. They fight when your strength runs out. They sing when your faith wavers. And it is their wings that carry the peace you feel now. The peace that tells you even in darkness that light is on its way. There are days when that peace will come like a flood, washing over every scar, every memory, every regret. It will feel like the ocean of God's mercy rising to meet the shores of your pain. You will not be able to explain it. You will not be able to describe it. You will only know that something has shifted within you, that the fear that once lived in your chest has been evicted, that the sorrow that once haunted your nights has found no more room to dwell. That peace will confuse the enemy because he cannot touch a heart that rests in the hand of God. He will try to whisper lies, he will try to stir the dust of old wounds, but peace will answer louder than fear ever could. Peace will say, you no longer belong to chaos. There is a moment in every chosen one's journey when peace becomes not just a feeling, but a calling. You will begin to crave it more than noise, to seek it more than approval, to protect it more than your pride. Because you will come to understand that your peace is your proof of God's presence. You will stop explaining yourself to those who do not understand your calm. You will stop running to defend yourself against accusations that no longer matter. You will stop reopening wounds just to prove they have healed. Peace will become your language, your posture, your weapon. And when people ask, how can you be so calm? You will smile and say, because God is fighting for me. And that will be enough. You see, when God steps into battle, he does not fight halfway. He redeems everything that was used against you. He takes the very arrows that were meant to wound you and turns them into the wood that builds your next blessing. He does not waste pain, he repurposes it. Every heartbreak becomes a lesson. Every betrayal becomes redirection. Every delay becomes divine timing. And when he's done, all that remains is peace, unshakable, undeniable, unstoppable peace. The peace that tells you, you survived not to suffer again, but to shine brighter than before. There will be a day when you look back on what broke you and thank God it happened. Not because the pain was good, but because the purpose was greater. You will see how he used the very chaos that threatened to destroy you as the soil in which your faith grew strong. You will see how every sleepless night built endurance, how every unanswered prayer taught patience, how every lonely season deepened your intimacy with him. And you will realize that the peace you feel now is the fruit of every tear you ever cried. It is the reward of every battle you did not walk away from. It is the crown of quiet victory that only those who have been through the fire can wear. Chosen one, there is a mystery in divine peace. It does not come when everything is perfect. It comes when everything still looks impossible, yet your heart believes anyway. It is the peace that made Daniel sleep in the lion's den, the peace that let David rest while hunted by Saul, the peace that allowed Jesus to stand calm before the storm. That same peace now lives in you. The same hand that held them now holds you. The same voice that said, "Be still," to the waves now whispers it into your soul. You are not waiting for peace to arrive. It already dwells within you because God dwells within you. And when you walk through the next valley, remember this. Peace is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of promise. It tells you that even if the mountain doesn't move, you will not fall. Even if the door doesn't open, you will not be forsaken. Even if the world around you crumbles, your spirit will stand because God has declared it so. This is what it means to be chosen, not to be exempt from battles, but to be guaranteed victory through them. Not to avoid the fire, but to emerge from it refined, radiant, reborn. Peace is not what comes after the storm, it is what carries you through it. Sometimes you will feel it in the smallest things, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the gentle laughter that rises from nowhere, the way a stranger's kindness restores your hope. That is God reminding you that he is near. He speaks in whispers, in warmth, in waves of stillness that settle your heart before your mind can even make sense of it. That is not coincidence, that is confirmation. The same peace that steadied you yesterday will meet you again tomorrow. It does not run out, it does not fade. It is renewed with every breath you take because the source of that peace, the God who fights for you, never sleeps. Do not fear when storms rise again. The enemy will always test what he cannot take. He will try to disturb your calm to convince you that peace is temporary. But you must remind him that your peace is eternal because it is anchored in the Eternal One. You must remind him that your calm is not weakness, it is warfare. That your stillness is not surrender, it is strength. Every time you refuse to panic, every time you choose to pray instead of worry, every time you choose to trust instead of control, you declare that heaven reigns over your heart. That is how you fight your battles, through peace. The world will not understand it. They will call it denial, apathy, or ignorance. But you will know it as divine assurance. You will walk through fire and still smile, not because it doesn't burn, but because you know it cannot consume you. You will face storms and remain steady, not because the winds are kind, but because the one who calms them walks beside you. You will stand in the middle of chaos and feel the stillness of heaven within you, and that will be the loudest testimony you could ever give. Because when people see that kind of peace, they will want to know its source. And you will say, "It was God. It was always God." The peace you feel is a language of love that only heaven speaks fluently. It is God saying, "I have heard you. I have seen you. I am with you." And every time you feel that calm rise inside you, know that he is reminding you that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It might be formed, it might even be launched, but it will not prevail, because peace is your protection and peace is your proof. It says to the world, "I have already won." Even before the outcome, chosen one, never underestimate what peace does to your enemies. It disarms them. It confuses them. They expect you to break, to retaliate, to crumble. But when you stay still and smile, when you walk away with grace instead of anger, when you respond with patience instead of pride, they see something divine that they cannot fight against. Your peace becomes your victory parade. Your calm becomes your crown. Because no force in hell can fight against a soul that refuses to leave God's rest. You will know you are growing when chaos no longer moves you the way it used to. When the same things that once shook you now barely touch your peace. That is not detachment, that is deliverance. It means your spirit has matured. It means you no longer live by reaction but by revelation. It means you have come to understand that peace is not a luxury, it is your inheritance. And no one can take from you what heaven has written in your name. That sudden peace you feel is not random. It is the sound of chains breaking in places you cannot see. When God fights for you, He does not just protect your life. He transforms your perspective. He teaches you to see differently, to move differently, to speak differently. You begin to carry yourself with quiet authority, knowing that you are backed by heaven. You stop begging for acceptance and start walking in assurance. You stop fearing endings and start expecting beginnings. You stop questioning your worth and start embodying it. Peace becomes your evidence that you are walking in divine alignment, that your steps are ordered even when they feel uncertain. And yes, there will still be days when fear tries to sneak in, when doubts whisper in the dark. But peace will meet them at the door and say, "You are not welcome here." You do not have to fight for peace, it will fight for you. It will chase you down when you drift too far. It will call your name when you forget your strength. It will hold you still when the world demands you run. That peace is not passive, it is protective. It is not fragile. It is fierce. It guards your heart like an army of angels because it was purchased at a divine price. The Prince of Peace gave his life so you could live without fear. So when peace finds you, treat it as holy ground. Every moment of calm you feel is heaven leaning close. Every breath that fills your lungs is God's gentle reminder. You are not alone, you never were. The peace you feel now is not an accident, it is not coincidence. It is the manifestation of promises whispered long before you were born. You are living inside an answered prayer, chosen one. You are walking through days that someone once asked God to grant you. And that peace you feel, it is their prayer echoing through time, God's fulfillment resting upon your shoulders. So lift your eyes, stand tall, breathe deeply. Let that peace soak into your bones until it becomes part of your identity. Let it remind you that even when life trembles, heaven stands firm. You do not need to chase what God has already declared yours. You only need to rest in the truth that He is fighting for you even now. The same peace that met you in darkness will walk with you in light. The same calm that held you in pain will carry you into purpose. The same stillness that felt like a whisper will soon thunder as victory. And one day, you will tell your story, not with trembling lips but with a peaceful heart. You will say, "I did not understand it then, but that peace was God's hand upon me. That stillness was the sound of heaven fighting my battles. That sudden calm that made no sense was proof that I was never alone." And others will hear your voice and find their own peace through your testimony. That is how God works. He does not just fight for you, He fights through you. He turns your peace into a beacon, your story into a song, your survival into a symphony that glorifies Him. So go in peace, chosen one. Walk gently but walk boldly. Speak softly but stand firmly. Let peace lead you, for it knows the way better than fear ever could. And whenever that sudden calm returns, smile and remember, it is not the end of your fight, it is the sign that God has already begun the next victory. The peace you feel is not the pause before the blessing, it is the blessing itself. It is heaven's proof that you are protected, provided for, and profoundly loved. And when you rest in that truth, nothing in this world can shake you again. And so, chosen one, when you rise tomorrow and feel that unexplainable calm wash over your spirit, when your heart no longer trembles at the memory of what hurt you, when your chest no longer tightens with the weight of worry, know that God has moved. Know that His hands have been at work in the quiet, shifting, healing, restoring. He is not always loud in His rescue. Sometimes He slips in like the dawn, gentle but unstoppable. Sometimes He doesn't shout your victory, He breathes it. And when that peace comes, that sudden, overwhelming stillness that silences every fear, don't question it, don't run from it, receive it. Because that is the mark of divine intervention. That is the signature of a God who fights battles too deep for you to see. He doesn't need to announce His strength to prove it. His evidence is your peace. His victory is your stillness. And that peace, that sacred calm in your soul, is the whisper of heaven declaring that it's done. The war you thought would destroy you has already been won in the unseen. You are standing in the aftermath of a victory that God secured before you even cried your first tear. The peace that you feel is not the absence of war, it is the presence of God. It is what happens when His Spirit steps into the storm and says, "Be still." It is the sound of chains falling without noise, of mountains moving without motion. It is the soft silence after a long night of thunder, the silence that proves the storm has bowed to something greater. That's why, chosen one, you cannot measure God's power by the noise of your circumstances. He doesn't always prove Himself in earthquakes or fire. Sometimes He comes as a gentle breeze, brushing against your weary soul, and in that moment all your fears loosen their grip. That's Him fighting for you, not with fists or flames, but with the authority of His peace, because peace is power, peace is proof. Peace is God saying, "I have handled what you couldn't." You see, chosen one, peace isn't something you earn, it's something He gives. And when He gives it, no man, no demon, no situation can take it away. It's the kind of peace that stands when everything else collapses. It's the kind of peace that confuses your enemies, because they expected your breakdown but witnessed your breakthrough instead. They thought your silence was surrender, but it was really strength disguised. You weren't giving up. You were letting God step in. The world teaches you to fight louder, to scream back, to prove your worth through struggle. But heaven teaches you to be still. For in stillness you make room for divine warfare. In stillness God unsheathes His sword and fights for you. When you let go, He takes over. And when He takes over, victory is no longer a question. It's a certainty written in eternity. So when you feel that peace rising in you after a season of chaos, don't think it's random. It's God's signal that the battle has shifted. You may not have seen the fire fall or the sea split, but something in the spiritual realm just bowed to His name. Every dark thing that tried to touch you just fell powerless. Every voice that tried to accuse you has been silenced. Every attack that was meant to break you has turned into a testimony in progress. That peace is the sound of heaven declaring, "No more." It's God saying, "Enough." It's His final word over what was trying to drown you. When peace comes suddenly, it means your spirit has stepped into a divine ceasefire. Heaven has spoken, and hell has had to listen. Chosen one, don't mistake the quiet for absence. God doesn't have to shout to be sovereign. He doesn't have to prove Himself through drama when He holds all authority in silence. His silence is not neglect, it is strategy. And when that silence breaks into peace, it's not weakness, it's victory wearing grace as its garment. Peace is not passive, it is power cloaked in gentleness. The world has confused noise with strength, but heaven has always known that real strength whispers. That sudden calm in your heart. That's God's banner waving over you. That's His army surrounding your enemies while you rest. You are covered even when you can't see it. You are protected even when you can't prove it. You are loved even when you don't feel worthy of it. That peace you feel is God's way of reminding you that you're not fighting alone. And in truth, you never were. So take a breath, chosen one. Let that peace fill you. Let it quiet your anxious thoughts and wash over every wound that still throbs in the shadows. The war you fought in silence was never in vain. Every tear watered the ground for a miracle. Every sleepless night stretched your spirit to hold a greater glory. Every season of confusion refined your faith until it could no longer be shaken. And now this peace, this divine calm is God's way of saying, "You made it. You have crossed into the land of promise, not because you were perfect, but because you were chosen. Not because you fought the hardest, but because you refused to give up. Heaven honors persistence, God rewards endurance, and your peace is the crown of your perseverance. There will be moments when that peace feels fragile, like it could slip away with the next storm. But remember, this peace that comes from God cannot be lost, only forgotten. So when fear tries to creep back in, close your eyes and remind your heart of what He's already done. Feel that stillness again. Let your spirit remember that it is guarded by divine hands. The enemy may try to stir confusion, to shake your mind with lies, but peace is the evidence that his power has been stripped. Peace is the proof that your life is no longer ruled by chaos. You have entered a divine rhythm where heaven leads and hell cannot interfere. You have stepped into alignment with the one who commands the wind and the waves. And even when storms return, they will no longer find you afraid, they will find you anchored, chosen one. Peace doesn't mean the absence of storms, it means the storm no longer has authority over you. It may roar, but it cannot reign. It may shake, but it cannot shatter. Because the one who lives within you carries calm in His voice. He says, "Peace, be still," not just to the waters outside of you, but to the waves within your soul. That's what He's been doing all along, fighting not just your visible battles, but the invisible ones within. Every time you felt like losing your mind, He steadied your thoughts. Every time your heart wanted to give up, He whispered strength into it. Every time the pain grew louder than the promise, He reminded you that peace was coming, and now it's here, not as an idea but as a presence. The peace you feel is the person of God resting within you. It's His Spirit breathing assurance into every empty space, so go ahead and rest now. Rest in the truth that He has already won. Rest in the knowing that you are surrounded by grace even in uncertainty. Rest in the stillness that no weapon formed against you could destroy. You don't need to fight for peace anymore. It's already yours. You don't need to chase victory. It's already finished. Let your soul unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your spirit breathe again. You have survived every battle meant to bury you, and now heaven is honoring your endurance with peace that surpasses understanding. It's not ordinary peace, it's resurrection peace. The kind that rises from ashes and blooms in the aftermath of fire. The kind that carries both scars and songs. The kind that says, "What tried to kill me taught me who my God is." That peace, chosen one, is not temporary, it's eternal. It will follow you into the next chapter and make even the unknown feel safe. It will guide your decisions, guard your heart, and anchor your steps. You will walk differently now, not as a wounded survivor but as a living testament of divine protection. You will move through life carrying stillness where others carry stress, faith where others carry fear, and wisdom where others carry worry. And when they ask you why you're so calm, tell them, "Because my God fights for me." Tell them, "Because I've seen peace win wars that strength could not." Tell them, "Because I finally understand. Peace is not the end of the battle, it's the proof that the battle was never mine to begin with." See, lived as one who searched for signs, but now you walk as one who embodies them. You have become the evidence of His faithfulness. The peace that covers you now is not a momentary comfort. It is the mark of divine victory etched into your soul. It is the melody of heaven humming softly in your chest, the sacred rhythm of a heart aligned with eternity. You are not merely surviving anymore, you are radiating. You are breathing proof that when God fights for His own, the battle is already decided, and though the world may still roar, it will never drown out the whisper of peace that lives inside you. That whisper is stronger than the noise. It is the steady pulse of divine certainty saying, "You are covered. You are chosen, you are mine." And even when life tries to drag you back into the noise, peace will not let you go. It will follow you into every storm and every silence. It will find you in rooms filled with uncertainty and wrap around you like sunlight breaking through clouds. It will be the hand that steadies you when you stumble, the warmth that fills the hollow of your chest when grief tries to return. Because peace is not a visitor, it is a resident. It has built a home within you, and its foundation is unshakable. Even when you forget its presence, it remembers you. It waits patiently like a faithful friend until your heart is ready to feel again. And when you do, you will know beyond any doubt that this peace is not ordinary. It is supernatural. It is the evidence that God Himself has intervened on your behalf. There is a holiness in this peace, a sacred weight that cannot be explained but only experienced. It humbles you, it silences you. It teaches you to trust the unseen and to rest